Denizens of the deep, arise and welcome to the showdown between the Vampire Coast, who shall be led by Count Noctilus atop his mighty scratching post, and the Beastmen, who are going to be helmed by Malagor the Dark Turkey. So on that note, guys, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So as far as the build goes, this is going back a little bit of a time travel here. So this was actually my build pre-nerf to the summons. I still think it's very strong. Essentially, it's very reliant on using Count Noctilus and the big crab to kind of terror out and just kind of endure the Beastmen onslaught. Beastmen are very good at running over chaff units, and I honestly think they're one of the better factions at cutting through lightly armored chaff very quickly. So we're going to have to use our big crab Noctilus as well as this Morngul Haunter to kind of hold the line. So anyways, front line's going to be 4 deckhand mobs, pretty self-explanatory, just there to be a tar pit, and taking a little bit of damage here. Aerocrastic coming in with a fat erect vanguard. So he does have 2 groups of Ungors here, and you can see a lot of his army is pretty much going to be starting out right in front of me. He's got pigs back here. Man, things are going to be getting pretty hog wild to say the least. But 4 deckhand mobs. On the flanks, I have a couple halberds, of course, against Minotaurs, Centaurs, any sort of flank pressure. You know, the pigs, they're going to be pretty decent against all those aforementioned options. On top of that, we got 2 groups of these zombie pirate gunnery mobs, or actually 3. So just a standard variant. I don't really think you need the handgunners in this matchup. I mean, getting a little bit of extra AP against like Gorbals and maybe, but even still, they're so lightly armored across the board, and these guys are just cheap. 90 range is enough. The Beastmen aren't like some excellent missile faction that can really outrange you. So I really do think that these standard gunnery mobs are the way to go here. Now, up in the skies, this is something that is a little bit archaic. We have 2 groups of the deck droppers with handguns. These are a unit that used to be insanely OP, and now I think they're in a good place. I don't think they're overpowered or maybe a little bit on the weaker end of things, but still nonetheless they have decent applications against Beastmen because the Beastmen can't get to them. It guarantees you firepower over the course of the whole game. You can sit on top of Minotaurs or Baconators or Gorbals, and they can put out some decent damage. We got 2 hounds as well, just to kind of skirmish and go after missile units and have some fun. And in the back, the big crab god here, going to be getting in there. Italian Spartacus himself. Going to be dropping some heavy AP, but mainly Beastmen don't have like the best kind of, I mean, they can wear down big armored targets over time with throwing axes and Minotaurs and Gorbals, but for the most part, it's not like they're going to get just gunned down by powder units. So I do think the Rotting Leviathan is a strong pick. We got the Morngul Hunter for terror and the AoE slow, bonus versus infantry, just a decent choice. And we have Noctilus on the big beast here right here. Now, I honestly think, in retrospect, he may be a little bit better on foot in this matchup, but even still, having the big cannon against Minotaurs and just the firepower is still really strong. So that's pretty much it for my force, and for Aerocrastic, just a balls deep vanguard, like I said. Front line's going to be Ungors with Ungor Raiders behind them, who are taking a bit of damage from Noctilus and the firepower. Hounds on the flanks, but the big core of Aero's army is going to be the Bacon Herd. So he's got Razorgore Herds, which I love. This is a great pick here from Aerocrastic, because even if I went with like Depth Guard and a more sustained infantry build, these guys bring enough AP to the table to, put a little bit of a dent in Depth Guard and also work on the crabs. I really think they're good. And also they have enough mass to push into the back line of a gun line. So great pick there. He's got Minotaurs with shields. He's got Malagor the Dark Omen, a Gorbal, and a bunch of spears over here on the supporting position. So anyways, guys, let's get this show on the road. The fighting's already started, so a little bit of out of sync there. But Deckhand mobs are fighting Ungors. Relatively even fight here in the front line, but I do send in the Crab God here. It's going to be beating down the Raiders. We're getting some decent firepower. You can see these zombie pirate gunnery mobs back here are shooting into the enemy missile units, and now they will be switching into the Minotaurs with shields. On the flanks, Aerocrastic is going to be pressuring in with Ungor Herds, which I will be intercepting here with the deckhand mobs with polearms, which is probably going to be a losing fight for them. I mean, their melee attack's 14 against 24 melee defense. It's going to be a little bit tricky since the bonus versus large isn't really a factor. On the other side, Aerocrastic is slamming in here, so my halberds plus my hounds intercept his hounds and the Gore Herds, but it's only a matter of time before he gets in, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. I certainly need to get some big terror routes. So my deck droppers up in the skies are going to be shooting downtown, going after the Minotaurs here in just a moment. And we have the wacky inflatable arm guy. He's going to be in here as well, just kind of feasting on some of these guys. Having a good old jolly time. Look at him just dropping bows. And even, I guess the Gorbal hunting thing must be a genetic flaw because they just all go flying whenever they get hit. Morngul Haunter is holding it down, but Minotaurs hit quite hard, and, they don't have a lot of armor on the Haunter, so even, like, just chaff units and things like that can poke. Now, this is where things get a little bit crunk. Aerocrastic's Bacon Herd, I was about to say Horde, but I guess close enough. The Herd is going to be getting into the backline, jumping on top of the gunnery mobs, and they're going to be able to feast on them. I mean, they don't have the best combat stats, only 24 melee attack, but they're working against 6 melee defense, so yeah, you don't need a lot to kind of get through those guys. So on the front line, it's starting to fall apart a little bit. I have to fall back with the Morngul Haunter, of course, and I summon some buffering zombie deckhand mobs and a really good Viletide cast right there. He's actually had a couple that pretty much shut down my guns for the most part. But at this point, I was like, okay, the backline's compromised. Now we need to withdraw. We need to get our forces in the back, unified for Invocations of Heck, and just form a Death Star and try and terror out the Beast Herd. So right here, we are able to get a decent terror out. The Razorgore Herds here do get pushed off by the Rotting Leviathan, who's doing a very good job holding it down. Noctilus comes back here as well. And we are able to escape with the Haunter. And another cast coming down there from Malagor, not doing too much damage on that one, but the whole front line here is starting to crumble, like I said. Here you have the deckhand mobs holding on, and you know, had this been pre-patched, these guys would last quite long, but here they're going to be disappearing in a second. The gunnery mobs just eventually got compromised, and when you do lose your positioning with Vampire Coast, you're not really able to get away too well. As far as the deck droppers up in the skies, like I said, just sitting and shooting at the Minotaurs. Aerocrastic, of course, being the very savvy veteran here, is going to be bringing the shielded Minotaurs, so they're going to be a little bit tough to kill with those silver shields, but deck droppers are still wearing them down. If you look here, there's only 10 models, and the other ones have 5. So the deck droppers honestly haven't done terrible this game. They've been able to really kind of punish the Minotaurs and have done a decent job. Now here back in the main fight, you can see the Morgul Hunter is just being surrounded, and even the chaff units are starting to wear him down. Granted, he does have the hunger. He's in stable binding, so the boy's going to be holding on, but here comes Big Papa Gorbel, and even though Gorbel is going to get punted, he's kind of like, you know, he's always going to come back. He's the guy who keeps getting knocked down, but he gets back up again, never going to let him down. And, you know, he's getting back there and causing some problems. So Gorbel's chasing down Count Noctis. The bounce power is actually ebbing in the favor of the Beastmen a little bit as the herd just closes in. Now, most of these are just chaff, kind of haggard units. And in the back, the Fellbats are doing a good job, actually. They're able to kill the Ungors and just bouncing back and forth between the two. So we've been able to shut down those guys rather effectively. But now we have a big old pit fight. We just have a horde of bacon here versus some rotting vampire undead corpse things. So Noctis is going to be fighting, the Haunter is going to be fighting, Crab's fighting as well, and just kind of a numbers game here. It's just the Minotaurs with their decent AP values and just steady pressure starting to wear these guys down. And of course, leadership is becoming an issue since I'm fully surrounded here. So the Crab's trying his best. Noctis is trying to get away. He is going to be dropping a load right here of zombies to try and help out. Another nice Valtide going right down there on the deckhand mobs, and I'm pretty much out of summons. My Winds of Magic this game hasn't been too great. I certainly probably was maybe casting too much too early and kind of burned out a little bit, but nonetheless, who knows. Deck droppers up in the skies, it's going to be one of my ways back into this game potentially, just kind of shooting off the Minotaurs. 7 shielded Minotaurs right here who are going to be getting peppered by that firepower, and we're also shooting the Baconator. So if there's one big kind of cataclysmic terror route, that's certainly something that could help out quite a bit, but the Beastmen are just sustainable here. Malagor is back here, and I wonder if Arrow did bring the icon of vilification. So let us look here, and if we look, so yeah, he actually has an item, and it's actually decent here in this matchup if you think about it. 12 leadership to all these guys nearby, so as he does get closer to the big monsters here, that's really going to help his low-tier Beastmen troops continue to fight against the terror. So Noctis is going to be dropping Invocation of Nehek, trying to keep things going. We are able to blast off the Minotaurs. They're wavering, 17 leadership, 318 HP, so very, very low. So the deck droppers, like I said, you know, I think they actually did okay in this matchup. You know, after I played the game with Aerocrastic, I was kind of like, you know, I don't know how well they did, but in this situation, I think, you know, in retrospect, they did pretty good kind of poking down those Minotaurs, because I didn't have too many other ways to deal with them, right? So Count Noctis, in the meantime, a nice terror route right here, going to be breaking off Razor Gores, and the Minotaurs just have with a natural break, but with the big Crab kind of just getting crumped on here, you can see he's just like, oh god, I can't go any longer. He's just fully surrounded here, negative 56 leadership, and that is going to be the death toll, or no, whatever the term, you guys get the term, for the Vampire Coast here. So well played. It was a fast game. Obviously, we started very close together, so the game ended up being pretty quick, but it was a good build from him. It was great. I love it. It has answers for Depth Guard. It has answers for Crabs. The Minotaurs give you some decent AP, and due to the fact that he has such an overwhelming mass of kind of units pressuring in, it's kind of hard to focus down the Minotaurs. Normally, they're easy targets for Vampire Coast, but in this case, I thought it was really, really cool. And I thought his build was incredibly solid. So he changed his name from back to Aerocrastic from Norris, as you guys saw in the previous battles. But yeah, this build, I honestly think it's a little bit outdated. I used to, when I used this build before, I used to rely heavily on the crutch of summons. Essentially, I would use them to kind of deal with Zergs and Swarms, and they lasted so much longer, but now that they disappear, I still don't think it's not going to be as good. And I don't think you want Noctis up on the big boy there. But aside from that, I think the build's okay. Deck droppers were okay. Rotting Leviathan, I think, did a decent job. Although, honestly, in my old build, I used to use a Terrorgeist, the Deathstreak Terrorgeist, who I think might actually be better against like Minotaurs and things like that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and take a look at it and review this build and maybe make some changes to bring it up to date. And very well played to Aerocrastic. Please make sure to check out his YouTube channel, The Glorious Everchosen himself. And yeah, let's go look at the build. Let's do it to it. I got a lot of good replays. I just had some really good skirmishes with a bunch of folks, and it was a blast. So yeah, a lot of my builds from the Vampire Coast haven't been updated in a long time. So if we're looking at Beastmen, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one we ended up using. So honestly, just take Noctis off here. Like, I think just having him on foot is going to be better. I do like the Morgul Hunter. I'm still a fan of that. Maybe cut down a little bit on the gunnery mobs. I think you don't need those guys as much. Probably the Fellbats were good. Maybe cut the Scurvy Dogs since they're going to have such good battlefield control and get a couple Fellbats. From here, I think getting Lamprey's Revenge would be pretty good. It was something that we also discussed, and you don't really need Smoke and Mirrors in this matchup, so you can cut that. So I think something like this might be better. You have like more of an anchor. The Lamprey's Revenge you can anchor on, get those really good terror routes from the Haunter. The Deathstreak Terrorgeist I think is a pretty good choice as well. I mean, the Crab's also good, but this guy is going to be able to deal with Minotaurs and Gorbels better. Although he doesn't have the bonus for large. Yeah, I think this guy might be a little bit better. Hard to say. And you could still use the deck droppers, honestly. I think they're okay. Like, pretty good at shooting, like, a lot of the Beastmen stuff. And I think just enduring and just kind of outlasting them and trying to get those deck droppers to take out the high-value targets are good. I like having a couple of these guys. I think it's good. And switching the Fellbats, you don't have to protect your Scurvy Dogs because they're just going to get run down by Chaos Warhounds plus the Centaurs usually. So again, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the game plus the post-game. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.